Okay, so besides this that I use as a tool tracking, this is another good tool, Google. You can type in any kind of footprint. So like here I did a bobcat footprint, and it'll pull up a lot of different images of bobcat footprints, and you can click on them and you can look at them in sand and mud, and it shows comparisons of like bobcat and dog, other animals. So Google's a really good tool to use to compare footprints with what you found or tracks. And so even just like typing in animal tracks on Google, and you can go to different sites like this here. This is showing you pages similar to the one I have here on there that you could go to, and these would all help as a tool to help you learn different animal tracks, what they look like, what to look for. So by going on this and clicking it, and then it brings up the different pages here and pictures. So like this first one here is showing you a lot of different animals, what the tracks look like. Like some of them we don't have here, like the elk we don't have here in Florida, and like we don't have snow, so the tracks are different here than they would be trying to track out west somewhere up north where you might be in the snow, because we're not used to snow here. All right, and then here's another one that's similar to the one I have. So here's another one that's similar to what I have here. So like this is Florida animals. Like this one here, this one's Massachusetts. So they got moose on there. We don't have moose here. So there's you know, there's gonna be differences here in these, but they'll help you. And then too, if you get like this one here, I'm gonna click on it. So you take ones like this that shows you the trackway. Some of them are staggered, some of them are straight in line. So that'll help you too with determining tracks if you're seeing a trackway, finding quite a few tracks in line, and if they're actually like in line or if they're staggered. So that can help you too to determine tracks. And there's several of them on here. And that's just from going to Google and clicking on animal tracks. And you got ones like this one. This one shows you a lot of different birds, a lot of the different bird tracks. Okay, and then here's the one I have. This is the actual printout that I have here that I'm using. So it's on here too. So you can just click on that, you can save it and print it. So I'll save this page and I'll put the link into this page so you can see, you can find that. But as you can see, there's lots of these on here. There's a lot of them on here. But Google's a really good tool to use for learning the footprints, animal tracks. Okay, so Google is a good tool here too for learning the animal tracks. All you gotta do is just type in a track. So let's just start with bobcat track. Alright, so then here we got images. Alright, so something else too that I want to show you. When you're using Google like this too though for tracks, you have to watch because see this is showing coyote tracks. So it's not just going to pull up all of the one animal. It'll show you other tracks too at the same time. So one good thing too with looking at these on Google, you can see, alright, so see like the bobcat, you got the 4 toes, kind of a rounded shaped toes, and then the pad, the pads on each animal has a different shape. Alright, so see like they're showing a coyote here, coyote track, compared to a bobcat. So you can see the pads are different. The back pad there's different. And then like on the coyote you can see the claw marks, because the claws don't retract on the coyote. So this is a good tool for learning things like this. And a lot of these also will show you how they walk. It will show you if you're seeing a trackway. It'll show you how the front foot and back foot's landing, and if it's a straddle or a straight in line. So you'll be able to learn a lot of things like that from the just from the Google here. Alright, so let's do a different one. Let's do a black bear. Okay, black bear tracks. Alright, so here's black bear tracks. Alright, so see like it'll show you the front foot and the rear foot. And it'll give you sizes, it'll give you measurements. Like here they're holding a ruler against it. Here's somebody's using a hand for a size reference. A hand for size reference. There's a lot you can learn here with these. And then see here's a front and a rear foot. And like the bears, the rear foot a lot of times will step in the front foot. That's just the way they walk. So you can go down here and click more images. So you can use these. A lot of times it'll show you what they look like in the sand, in the snow, in the mud. So you can look at for things like that too as well. So Google's pretty good for learning a lot of the different animal tracks. Alright, so since we're doing this, let's look up human tracks. Trying to see if it'll show me more images. Here we go, right there. Show more images. So let's type in Bigfoot tracks and see what it does. So it's showing some. Looks like these are showing straight in line. So let's look at this deer versus hog tracks. So a lot of people really have trouble out in the woods seeing the different hog and deer tracks and telling the difference. So these are hog tracks here. They're a little more rounded on the front, and they're showing the dew claws. And then that's a deer track. And even though like this will tell you the hog tracks are more rounded, it's not always that case. They can be hard to tell the difference out in the woods because they're not always going to show the dew claws. The shape of the toes a lot of times can be real similar to the deer. Can be real similar to a buck track. So I just wanted to show you this real quick too. The Google looking for footprints and tracks here. It'll help you learn. It's a really good learning tool. Alright, so I think one more thing here. Let's look up wolf tracks. And see, again, you got to be careful with this too, because like all of this is not wolf tracks. These are coyote tracks. The wolf tracks look different than the coyote tracks do. Click on the show more. The wolf tracks are bigger and more widespread than the coyote. So even though this is a good tool to learn, you still gotta be careful of how they show stuff. You'll see this looks more like a coyote track. The wolf tracks are more spread out more. See, like these are wolf tracks here, but that's coyote track. That's coyote. So that looks like a wolf track there. And then here they're showing a wolf and a wolf track compared to a coyote and a coyote track. So it is a good learning tool, and a lot of times it'll give you the sizes, the measurements on them. Some of these do. So learning the difference in the wolf tracks, the coyote tracks, dog tracks, because there are places where people walk their dogs. Alright, so this is a good place to learn. Alright, so I went ahead and typed in skunk ape tracks as well. And it brought up a few things here it brought up some footprints here. That looks like David Shealy's footprints that he's been casting. And that's a book from David Shealy and Ron Million. And then this is the famous, that one and that one, the famous photo that was taken down in South Florida, or the Everglades. I think it was South Florida. It was down around Myaca, I believe. So a lot of the skunk ape footprints are on four toes. So some of this is from David Shealy's skunk ape headquarters. Some of these photos like that. That. Anyway, this is a good place to learn. Looking up tracks on Google, tracks and footprints. Alright, one thing this doesn't have on it is alligator footprints, because we have alligators here in Florida. So this doesn't have that on there. So I want to add that in here too as well. So if we go here to Google and look up the alligator footprints, and you'll see sometimes there's a tail drag with the footprints. So you got the back foot and the front foot, and it'll show you what they look like in the sand or the mud. Like that. And also one thing I liked here too when I was just looking at this, it'll actually show you the alligator foot, so you can see it. You can see what it's going to look like here as it's making the leaving the track. You can actually see what the foot looks like, and then as it's making the track. And let's see if they show. And again, you have to watch, because some of this will show crocodile as well, which we do have crocodiles down in South Florida. So here's a couple actually showing alligator. And the other day they showed a couple of them walking. Yeah, like here we go. Here's one walking. Oh, they're raised up off the ground and they're walking on their feet. So I didn't want to leave out the alligators because it's not on the sheet here, on the print that I use a lot. And also I printed these out here off of Google. And I also like to print these out when I go somewhere to the conference or library, somewhere where I've got a table. I'll print a bunch of these out and give them away. This is a real good resource to have when you're actually out in the woods. It's good to have something like this with you. You can pull it out and look at the track and compare it to the tracks you're seeing on the ground. And then here's some really good information on tracking. So I'll include all these too in the links in the description. The links to these in the description. But this is really good here if you want to read this. It gives you a lot of information to learn about tracking. It tells you a lot about animals, about their trails, how they run, the escape routes that they use, the bedding down, dens, stuff like that. It teaches you a lot about tracking. This is talking about skulls right here. This is talking about skulls. It talks a lot about tracks, measuring a track. And here again we have the length of the track, the width of the track, the stride, the straddle, the pitch. So this also has a I like this part right here, classification of the tracks. A clear print is you can see it real clearly, like in the mud. And then you have the pattern classification, which is when it's not really clear, when it's like hard ground, leafy ground, stuff like that, where you can't make out the toes really good, but you can see the good shape of it and the size. That's considered a pattern classification versus a clear print. Clear prints are really hard to find. As you can see here, 5% of prints are going to be clear. 95% are going to be a pattern that you can find. All right, these are some of my footprints that I have found that are pretty clear, and you can see the toes. Right. It's about the same size. That one looks like at least 14 inches. Desi and Troy both found these footprints here. This was in a 19-foot trackway where they found, and some of them are the 5% clear and some of them are 95% pattern. But this was a trackway they found in Green Swamp in an area that we researched. 6-inch footprints. So you can see the right foot, then the left foot, and the right foot. So you can see how far over the left foot swings over, where it's not even in line. So you can see with my line I drew on the edge of the right foot. So with the person, this foot would be over here. So with the Bigfoot, normally you would have somewhere around here. But I think because of the way they swing their feet over, he came over further than being in line. They can be pretty hard to see sometimes. There's an area, quite a few animal tracks. This looks like raccoon, probably right here. You can see the horse, where the horse stepped. And then there's some smaller animals here too. Yeah, that's a raccoon there.
This is more sugary sand. They're kind of hard to see sometimes.
Yeah, the sand gets disturbed a lot more. So this has some good information, like for the deer, looking at the tracks of a deer and being able to tell which one's a buck or which one's a doe. You can tell by the rear feet. The rear feet's going to be on the inside from the front feet for a male deer, for a buck, because of the different build of the body. and then the doe is going to be on the outside of the front feet because of the with them giving birth. And like right here, aging of the tracks, because we've been out with quite a few people working with different teams, and I'll find footprints sometimes that are 2, 3, 4 days old. Sometimes you can find them that have been reined in, and you can definitely tell a difference. You can tell that they're not our footprints, our boot prints, and you can tell that they're older. And like right here, it's talking about using a tracking stick to be able to use for a measuring device from one footprint to the next for looking for prints. And that works pretty good as far as like for finding Bigfoot footprints, Sasquatch footprints, because most of the time we find them between like 42 inch, 48 inch, sometimes up to like 52 and 54 inches. So you pretty much want to look around 48 inches from one foot to the other. So when you find one footprint, if you look 48 inches, you're liable to find the next one or signs of the next one. It may not always be a perfect print. You may find signs of it where you can see it, some of it in the leaves or the dirt, and then find the next one by looking at for another 48 inches forward. And you can also backtrack and look for them. Look backwards behind the track, look for another one, go back and look for another one, another 48 inches. And then like some of the tracking, like the book and the paper that I showed you, this will show you some of the, like the two toes, like the hoofed animals, or two toes, four toes, like the bobcat, the panther, and five toes, like the black bear, the raccoon, some of them. And then there's others here. So this is a good learning device, a good way of learning. So again, I'll put the link to this in the description. Okay, so another thing too I want to mention here is whenever you see something like this on TV, like this was a black bear. So if you'll watch his feet, watch how his feet are landing, and pay attention to that. See how close his feet are together as they're touching the ground as he's walking. So his footprints are going to be really close together. So if you watch that, see how close their feet are. So if you'll watch things like that when you're seeing something like this on the news. See, here's another one. So you can see how close he's stepping. Their back feet will come up close to where their front foot was. So see, like their step is really close, really short. You'll see again here, he's going to walk out here across the lawn here. So you can see how close his feet are landing to where the other one was. So his footprints, his footsteps are going to be really close together. They're not further apart like a human walking, a bipedal. And then especially a Sasquatch, Bigfoot, they're not going to be as far apart. See how really close his feet are? And his front foot will land almost where his back foot will land, almost where his front foot was. Let me say that again. So his back feet will land almost where his front foot was. So if you'll watch that when you're seeing something like this on the news, like about the black bears here, and them being spotted in different places around homes and people. Also, when you're uptown, when you go grocery shopping or go shopping or something, you're uptown doing something, watch people's feet. Watch when they're walking. I've been paying a lot of attention to that when we're out like that, because we find footprints out in the wild. Human looking footprints with toes and everything, barefoot. And then you're comparing that to humans, trying to figure if it's human or if it's Sasquatch. So like we've been seeing some that we think were juveniles, because they're like 7¼ inches, 8 inches long. But they're deeper than a human steps. A human is, because they're heavier. And they're also, the step is further apart than I step, with my foot being an 8-inch footprint, 8-inch foot. So watch people, and watch people with like 7-inch footprints or 7-inch feet. So watch people like that with 7-inch footprints or feet. 8-inch feet, 10-inch feet, 12-inch feet. Watch how they walk and how their the straddle is as they're walking. Watch things like that too, and it'll help you. It'll help you learn how to seeing some of these footprints and stuff out in the woods. It'll help you learn. And then, like I said, if you'll print something like this out, or pick one up from me if you see me out at one of these events, these are a good thing to have with you while you're out in the woods. Okay, I wanted to show you all this, some of my tracking material that I've used in my past videos. I printed these out and made them. So this was the foot length and width. And I got where I didn't really like these because they got the feet too close together. Even human, when the human walks, their feet are not that close together as far as stepping. So this like if you step here, this foot's going to be a little bit more forward. So I kind of didn't really like these too much because of that. The feet are too close together. So I went through these, the foot length and width, the step, the stride, the angle of the gait. Alright, so what I did, I took and printed out some new ones. I remade some of these and made them where they were better. Like this one, the bare feet there. I got them where they're in line, like we're finding. And I want to show these too because I'm going to be using these soon. Alright, so see, I took these and redid it so that the feet are more separated. Alright, so here's the foot length and width, where you want to measure the length of the foot and the width of the foot. So I think these are a lot better. They look more natural. And see this one, the step you're measuring from one heel to the next, So like right heel to left heel to right heel. I think this is a better illustration. And I separated these out a little bit so I could get to them easier. in the stride. The stride you're measuring from the right heel to the right heel, or from the left heel to the left heel. That's the stride. A lot of people get the step and the stride mixed up. So the step is from one heel to the other. It don't matter which foot, right foot, left foot, one heel to the other. But the stride is from either the left heel to the left heel or the right heel to the right heel. So I think these will help with that. Alright, and then the straddle. This was the only one I kept. that I had from the other ones, because it's actually measuring from the side of the foot here to this side of the foot on this side, and getting that measurement in between, and that's giving you the straddle. Like, whereas these, a lot of what we're finding out here in the woods are straight in line. There's no straddle to them. And also, some of what we're finding, so you got a right foot here and a right foot here, but the left foot, instead of being straight in line, like this, the left foot is further over. See, instead of being right here on the line, it's further over to the right. So you got a minus straddle. Whereas a human would be over here. This one's way over here to the right. So you got a minus straddle on this. And I like documenting these like this too, because you have, like, this one doesn't show the measurement, but on my tape measure, this is a 6-inch footprint. On my tape measure, you can see it's a good 16 inches or so, and then you're still not seeing the other footprint yet when I was measuring these. So that's the straddle from the edge of the left foot to the edge of the right foot. Because with the human, we do walk more like this, and we're not straight in line. And then the angle of the gait. So I actually redid this one too. So the angle of the gait, you're going to draw a line in between the heel, like this one's the right foot, through the heel of the right foot, through the heel of the next right foot. And then you're going to come back and draw a line from the center of the heel through the center of the foot and measure it at the toes. You can either measure that with the tape measure in inches, or you can measure it with the compass and get the degrees. It'll give you the degrees of your gait or your pitch, and it'll give you, or you can do it in inches. Also, looking this up, trying to look this up online, it brings up a lot of roofing stuff, trying to find a pitch. Alright, so these are my new ones, my new drawings. So I think these are a lot better. And I think these will be easier to understand. The way the other ones were, I think they were a little confusing because they're so close together. So I made these where they were further apart, so it looks better. And see, like this with the human, you have more of a straddle, and they're further apart. The human doesn't step like one foot right on top of the other one. So I'm going to be using these here pretty soon, and I'll show you that too in a video coming up. So I just wanted to re-show these, the new ones, the new drawings. and keep working on some tracking videos and tracking things to help people with their tracking and learning. So you can see the horse tracks there. Here's some of these older tracks that we were finding last weekend. So you can still see the toes in that one. That middle one there, you can see the toes in it still. So look at this, if I step right there, there's the next one. There's the next one. So look how far apart those are. And that's with me stretching out there. So my normal walking step is somewhere probably about right there. So with those I was having to stretch a little bit further out.